I do. So on our page at 1,000, I say you now own the money lap, and that then the cool prize is coming later.
You could just have it.
Yeah, you can have the money lap.
You can have it. Here's how much it costs to run and operate, and you got to make sure you make time to record a podcast once a week. But it's all yours.
It's yours. Have fun. Good luck. I'm just gonna start. Let's just do it.
Let's talk about Money Lap Live. Let's spend some time on it.
Money Lap Live. This is what we're doing here in the off-season, Landon. It's gonna be epic for basically 4 or 5 weeks. We haven't fully decided how many. We're gonna figure it out. Starting next week, next Wednesday from 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern Time, we are going to do Money Lap Live. These are live shows on YouTube and Twitch. They're going to be all over the internet. We're figuring that out as we go. We're going to have multiple guests. Myself here from Connecticut, you in Iowa, and it's going to be a lot of fun, dude. This is going to be cool. When everyone else basically shuts down, we're turning up at the Money Lap.
That's right. I will be doing it. I'll be recording live from Iowa. Week 2, I'll be in North Carolina. I think I'll be in Iowa again, but I'm looking forward to this. This is just going to be, to me, it's not going to be as structured. It's just going to, I don't know, we're just going to shoot the breeze and talk about racing. All these topics that we love going down rabbit holes, maybe we'll have more time to just go further down the rabbit holes. So we'll have some more broadcasts. Since it is a live broadcast, I think you guys been working hard on some animations and some different visuals for those that are listening on video or watching on video. Listening on audio, you'll have the same experience. You can speed us up, slow us down, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, that's going to be a cool part, is it will still go out on podcast form as well. So, we'll be primarily video based, but you will be able to listen to it just like any other podcast. And we'll do some things that are visual based, but really, as you put it, it's just going to be bigger conversations with more people. We're hoping to have 3 to 4 different guests per episode. So this is going to be from around the motorsports world, not just NASCAR.
Some good ones.
Yeah, not just IndyCar, but Formula One, all around the world. Supercars, you name it, sports cars. We're trying to have a group over this offseason into December that's going to basically touch every facet of the motorsports world, which would be very cool. This has been a dream of mine for a long time, Landon, and we're finally going to make it happen at the Money Lap, which is cool.
Money Lap Live.
Let's do the PR lap, diving into this episode, still in podcast form, and you can watch it on YouTube, of course. We had some reviews, one new one on Apple Podcasts, the podcast NASCAR fans needed so desperately, from Moose Lodge. Thank you, buddy. Spotify, my theory on Perez's extended stay in Red Bull. The Red Bull seat is his massive advertising presence and following in Mexico that seemingly no one in their stable can match other than Danny Rick, maybe. And Drangler, great take on the finish of the race. Not a particular fan of either, but I think Creed handled himself very well off the race. Those guys are lucky to be able to see the replay during the interview, talking about Sheldon Creed and Austin Hill at Martinsville. And Dobbzilla just found this podcast. Awesome job. Not many things. What's that?
Sometimes the best compliments are the most simplest ones.
Yeah, that's very kind of them. We didn't have a ton of comments on the YouTube, but we did have some great discussions going on the Will Buxton episode where myself and Will Buxton debated track limits. Some really great discussions happening there, which was awesome. So fun to see. We also, if you're a subscriber to the Money Lap newsletter on themoneylap.com, which comes in your inbox 3 times a week, you may have noticed today we announced a referral program. So basically, from starting at 3 referrals, if you send it to 3 friends who become subscribers, all the way up to 500 friends, there's all sorts of different things you can win, including we have $100 gift cards to the F1 store, NASCAR store, spoiler die cast. You get a free die cast at like 15 or 10. There's stickers available at like 5. At 500, though, you get race tickets of your choosing to an F1, NASCAR, IndyCar race that we will pay up to $1,000 for you to go.
I thought we were giving away a vehicle.
Well, we're wait a second. Oh, Didn't
you want to give away a car?
I do. So on our page at 1,000, I say you now own the Money Lap, and that the cool prize is coming later.
You could just have it.
Yeah, you can have the Money Lap.
You can have it. Here's how much it costs to run and operate, and you got to make sure you make time to record a podcast once a week. But it's all yours.
It's yours. Have fun. Good luck. So that will, we could get. You're the right place for that. Maybe we'll we can find a way to do that later. I don't know.
There you go. Okay.
I like it. Before we jump out of this, just have to say, finished my season at Big Machine Racing, the Xfinity Series. We finished 10th in points, went in 8th at Phoenix. I had a dreadful event. Just overall, one of our worst races of the year, weekend in total. And we fell from 8th to 10th in the points. So that hurt a little bit financially and just mentally, and I think spiritually as well. But it's okay.
Just hit all three. The trifecta.
Yeah, hit all three.
The holy trinity. The holy trinity of racing emotions.
In 2013, I did a full season in Xfinity, and I finished 9th in points, I think, like a couple behind Larson.
So you've gotten worse in 10 years?
So basically, yeah, I got worse by one spot. Come on.
Oh, gosh.
What is the deal? What does that say? What does it say? I'm just devastated. Yeah. 10 years later, you're like, man, I must be so much better than I was then. 10th.
I don't know. It's got to feel like it was a better season for you. I think it was an incredible season. It was an incredible season.
Thank you. Yeah.
So
stats-wise, top 5s and top 10s definitely dominated my 2013 season. So
it's those darn stage points. They don't play well for guys like you and me that have that grizzled veteran, know how to take care of our stuff, know how to be there at the end, know how to, it's you have to like take risk all race long, and maybe that's a good thing for the sport and for excitement, and but you gotta really be in position all race long to make sure you capture those stage points. That ultimately, I think you probably, not that I'm probably preaching to the choir, but you go back on your season or your playoffs at least, and probably don't need to finish any better than you did finish in any of the races. If you just would have captured some stage points, you would have been fine.
If we doubled our stage points, which would have put us in line with a lot of the cars we were with, then we're in a whole.
I mean, that was the case
stage
for
points
me
for
last year.
Everything.
That was the case for me last year. It was like, we needed some better finishes, and we had some anomalies with some of our mechanical failures, but it was really stage points that made the difference.
Yep. Well, I can agree with that 100%.
Speaking of making the difference, we have a special request from Spoiler Diecast this week, because I don't even have a full-on ad read, but that SpoilerDiecast.com is taking care of you on all your motorsports diecast needs, not just NASCAR, IndyCar, F1, all that stuff. You've heard it before. But I got a message from Spoiler Diecast that sliding this right in time. Not sure if this will get to you guys in time, but want to make sure and mention that all the championship merchandise is available on their site. So they've got all kinds of stuff for the series, Ryan Blaney, race version diecast available for pre-order, all 3 champions, as well as the Blaney Championship apparel. So trucks, Xfinity, Cup, you've got your championship apparel at SpoilerDiecast.com. The apparel ships fast too, so you'll look cool at Thanksgiving with your family. People will be like, dang, how did you get that stuff? I would imagine you can get it in time. So fast shipping, SpoilerDiecast.com. They have it all within a week or so. Get your fix. Get your championship fix.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, that's a big deal, right? When you can turn around. They were selling championship stuff on the track, which they do each year, in a little trailer right at the stage, which I always thought was so funny. So, like, they have it ready for whoever wins the championship in that trailer. I'm wondering if they bring 4 trailers or they just quickly set it up when they see who's going to win. I don't know. But it had all this Blaney stuff inside of it. And if you weren't at the track and you weren't there at the championship stage, then go to SpoilerDiecast.com. They've got it all, and as they said, it ships fast. It's right in stock, so go get your championship apparel across all 3 champions in the NASCAR Top Series. But as you mentioned, they don't only have NASCAR; they have everything else. So pretty cool.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Since it's Wednesday, we can look back at this championship finale across NASCAR and kind of pick some maybe deeper topics to go into. I think everyone that's listening at this point has probably seen the races or heard some of the biggest news items. But I think one of the things coming out of the weekend that started off was the absolute shit show that was the NASCAR Truck Series race. And now we have some even more evidence of that here on Wednesday. The NASCAR has fined Corey Heim $12,500 and docked him 25 points for his actions during the truck race, which, if you didn't see it, it was a complete wreck fest, including the Championship 4, Carson Hocevar got in the left rear of Corey Heim and spun him out at one point, and then later with like 12 to go, Corey seemed like it was pretty bleak that he was going to get back there, and he straight up just turned into Carson Hocevar, into the wall.
I think he should get fined another $2,500 just for his poor poker face in his interview. Or maybe maybe that's what earned him the $12,500 in the first place, was his interview. I'm thinking of a specific moment. I don't know if he said it on the broadcast or if it was captured on social media, but I think he said, "Only I will ever know." It was like the way he said it with this shit-eating grin and a wink almost. Was like, I think it was like Matt Weaver. I don't know if it was Bob Pockers or Matt Weaver that asked him, like, "Did you do it on purpose?" And he's like, "Only I will know." And it was like, what? You talking about?
Nope. Apparently NASCAR knows as well.
Yep. Apparently NASCAR knew enough to dole out a fine. NASCAR's getting pretty serious about penalizing drivers, which sparked some interesting debates. It sparked quotes from Denny Hamlin about needing to penalize drivers for rough driving. Obviously, where we grow up in the grassroots level of racing, that's a kind of a normal thing to send people to the back. A lot of different tracks have their own policies, whether the offender goes to the back, or I actually like policies where both cars go to the tail regardless. I like a no fault policy. But iRacing, people don't typically think of it like this, but iRacing sort of has a no fault policy with the way their system is built with incident rating and things like that. So I like a no fault policy. I don't like NASCAR having to all of a sudden become this judge and jury on gauging intent and whatnot. But it is not easy when the driver gets out of the car and just almost makes it obvious that it was on purpose.
I think we need a real license system.
Oh, well, yeah, 100%.
I think this has just become ridiculous at this point. And I think it's ridiculous to me. Like, I get the boys have at it, and I like that side of NASCAR, and I do like the contact of NASCAR. But I think when it becomes very obvious and intentional, right? And where you see, or someone becomes a consistent bad actor in terms of their intent, or I don't like, you can't measure intent, but
their attitude, the way they handle it, they're obviously not qualified to race at that level.
Exactly. And I think
that's really what it comes down to.
And it's just, you might have all the talent in the world, but it's just, you're not that level. And I think when you look at Carson Hocevar, right, this is a kid who's really fast, no doubt about it, can win races, proven that this year, can run at the cup level and run with the best, proven that again this year, but has this element of constantly intentionally wrecking people. Like, just intentionally running into them. And it's so obvious. And it's like, this is something that I don't think they have it perfect, but in Formula One with the super license system, he would have had enough reprimands or violations at this point that he would not be given a super license going into next year. I think that is something that could loom for some drivers that would create an element of, it also create an element of respect amongst the fact that you get to Cup. Right now, it's definitely becoming, with the idea that you're going to go trucks to Cup, and this is going to happen more and more, you're going to continue to devalue what it means to really go to Cup in that sense. And I just think that's a problem. So we need a license system.
I have thought that I going back to my point about a no fault system, because I agree with that, although I don't want to have this. I don't like the idea, and I don't think NASCAR wants to have to officiate fault either. They don't want to deal with that. I would love to see a licensing system that can have a no fault, algorithm built into it, right? So if you're just involved in an incident, it's a mark against your record.
Yep.
And as you know me personally, and my ethos around how I made it I have made a career as a professional racing driver for teams that needed to hire me and not tear up their equipment. That's a very well part of your business. It doesn't matter if a meteor falls from the sky and lands on your car. If it wrecks your car and puts you out of the race, you're the one who have to answer that. It doesn't do anybody any good to be on your way to the airport talking about how it was somebody else's fault. Yeah. Right. So having a no fault system to sort of track incidents, right, and monitor incidents, whether it's Carson Hocevar who dumped the guy, and Carson, obviously, whether it was his fault or not, whether he did it intentionally or not, it's a mark against his license that he caused a yellow. And then same to the guy that was the one that got dumped, whether it was his fault or not that he got dumped, whether he got dumped by someone who did it on purpose, doesn't matter. You cause a yellow, you have a mark against you, right? Fault or no fault. And that goes against your license, which can affect your super license rating.
Yep. I think
or
that's...
your gold cup license rating. Sorry, I
Gold
muted
Cup
myself.
license. Yeah, so I think that's interesting. And to your point, it's the iRacing style of like there's just incident points when cars connect to each other. And
It doesn't matter whose fault it is.
the only thing is it couldn't be public because, I think that's something that iRacing does, which is like if there's an incident limit, they don't publicize it because or actually, do they show it now where you can?
Yeah, they do.
You can look
see
if they have another 4X, you can get rid of them out of the race.
Yeah, that's true.
You can see it post-race. You can't see it during. Yeah, because that's what I was saying. I was like, you can't see it during the race because you could know they need a 4X and just be like, boom, all right, goodbye.
Okay, so you're at the end of the season, you and another driver are candidates for a cup ride.
Yeah.
And so you've got enough incidents in the bank and he doesn't. So you dump him.
That'd be a problem.
Oh yeah, there's always something. But I don't know. I think that I've run. This is perfect for Money Lap Live. We can have this conversation. Josh, write it down, add it as a topic, and we'll dive deep into it next week. So I've got plenty of ideas on where this licensing system could go, what it could look like. I think incidents could be a huge factor in it all. I also think just this is tough, and we'll go deep into it in Money Lap Live, but I think pure results should be a factor. And where we'll have fun debating this is your knee-jerk reaction is like, oh, well, people have equipment and, good cars and bad cars. I get it, and I would love to find a way to balance it out, but I would love to find a way to have this licensing ladder system where you just simply can't get a cup license without having a top 10 finish in Xfinity. Like,
so
you
it's
just
not, yeah,
or,
it's not crazy.
Or like a minimum number of starts, like some combination of starts and top 10 where it's just like you just can't get one. You just can't get a license.
Yep.
Like, so, if you've got all the starts and you've got the incident rating and all you need is a top 10, then you got to find a way to get in a good car or go to run Talladega and Daytona and get your top 10. Cause anyways, so we'll dive into that in Money Lap
We'll go
Live,
deeper.
share some thoughts. And we'll bring that one back up.
The last thing I'd like to say is I know there was a lot of conjecture about this race afterwards and such about the truck race and how bad it was and everything. And I do have a little bit of opinion to say, like, one, these championship races can't have drivers from higher series. So this is purely young drivers and whatever.
Yep.
And two, judging NASCAR, which I saw a lot of the internet doing off of the third tier series, is like judging Formula One off of the Carrera Cup support series at some races. Like,
yeah,
it's like, come on, there's a reason there's a hierarchy, and I don't think that's entirely fair. So, moving on, Grant Enfinger lost the championship to Ben Rhodes. Congrats to Ben Rhodes. They found a way, and Lucius.
Yeah,
your buddy there.
Yeah.
In Xfinity, as I mentioned, not the best weekend for myself and Big Machine Racing. We probably had one of our worst races of the year. Unfortunately, we fell from 8th to 10th in points. At one point, I guess we were within 2 points of 7th, which would have been wonderful. Would have loved that. Didn't happen. Really great battles, though, amongst the championship four. Even with Justin Allgaier spinning early in the race, which I saw when I was like, oh boy, that's not good. And then he found a way to come back and be in contention. In the end, Cole Custer came out on top. Far cleaner affair in the Xfinity Series. Cool for Cole Custer, by the way. A guy who has been to Cup, won a race, gets demoted essentially, comes down and wins a championship. That's a great recovery by him and sort of a statement.
If you're Cole, I honestly don't think we gave Cole a lot of attention. We really don't talk about him too much. And
on,
when he won that when he won that, I was just like, you know what? Dang, good for him. Good for him.
Yep.
Like, I don't know. I mean, it's the guy's had opportunities. He doesn't need a bone by any means. I'm not trying to be hard on him, but like he's won. He dominated Xfinity. That's how he got his Cup ride. He got a fair shake in the Cup Series and really good equipment. It probably didn't work out the way that he was hoping for it to, and maybe that doesn't mean he's not capable. But in your position, what more could you ask for than to, go out and win the championship? So good for him. Congratulations.
I agree with that. That's well said. And he's a good dude. Moving on to the Cup Series. On Sunday of that weekend, I was in the pits.
Yeah.
It is Ryan Blaney who comes out on top. There was some tight race. Well, first of all, Christopher Bell had a mechanical failure with the brakes, which was kind of wild. And I am interested to see what comes of that because, we've seen these brake problems at times, but this one, championship race, no tape on the brakes at that time, and still was able to explode a rotor. So not a good look.
I had some brake trouble in those cars last year.
Okay.
And I felt like there's a lot of driver related to it. And I don't know. Bell he's as good as it gets. So, but hey, I don't know. It's that I'm very interested. I don't know if they've really said anything about it. I don't know if there's much to talk about, now that the season's over, if they're really going to explain what happened to that car, but it just seemed to me like he overcooked them. and that can happen with with the next gen. Those brakes are there's more brake than you need. You can really overuse them pretty easily, especially at a place like Phoenix. So a lot of times that happens from an ill handling car. He wasn't running bad.
Yep.
But maybe he was making up for an ill handling car and getting too much out of it and just overused the brakes.
Adam Stevens did say it was on you because they had the tape off of the brakes. From there, after his incident, Steve Letarte gave one of the coolest breakdowns of the brake explosions in the most succinct way, which I said should win an Emmy, which then got picked up by a sport site that now has an article that my buddy of mine sent me from like MSN.com and like the front page of Microsoft Bing, being like Parker Kligerman wants coworker to win an Emmy. I was like, wow, this is how I always knew I'd go national. Thank you, appreciate it. Interesting. One of the things that happened in that race towards the end, as Ryan Blaney got past Kyle Larson, and William Byron sort of faltered after dominating early in the race, Ryan came upon Ross Chastain at one point, and they actually bumped into each other and raced. At least Ross, I don't think raced really that hard. He just aero blocked and did what he does so well, trying to win a cup race, which is a big deal, right? Goes on to win the race. Ryan Blaney wins the championship. So no harm, no foul across both sides. Before I go to the next part of this topic, just from your point of view, anything that stuck out from there that you wanted to get into? Because to me, it seemed like hard racing in the Cup Series in 2023. Mm-hmm. It happens to be that one car is racing for a championship and one wasn't. I don't know. It didn't matter to me.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm like, this business as usual to me. Guys racing hard.
Okay.
Chevy and a Ford driver who probably wants to make a statement or just wants to get paid for winning races. How about that? It's typically how drivers get paid. They get paid fairly well when they win. They get paid, they make a little more money. They do better for their career when they win versus finishing second.
It's amazing how that works, It really is amazing.
Not sure if there was any bonus out there for Chastain to, for Blaney to win for Chastain if Blaney won. So we can check on that though.
So the next part of what I want to get into,
but it's not all about the money. But
it's not.
The trophies are nice too.
But this show is called Money Lap, so we don't mind going that route.
Yeah.
The next part of this I want to get into. Before I do, I'd like to say that I love my spotter, Brendan McReynolds. He's a great spotter. He's great at his job and an unbelievable spotter at Speedways and gave me great descriptions. But I do not care whatsoever if spotters have discussions with NASCAR or are told things that doesn't get relayed to the team or the driver, in that case, doesn't matter, moot point, don't care. We've raced without spotters before, could always, don't really think they matter in that sense. There is a bit of a conjecture on the internet right now from a certain podcast with spotters that NASCAR asked the one spotter to basically stop racing the 12 so hard or calm down, right? Because they're racing each other, which Mike Ford from NASCAR refuted by saying the official saw the spotters of the 1 and the 12 getting heated during the battle for the lead and asked them to calm down. There's the certain spotter saying, nope, this was them saying calm down about the racing. Obviously, one of the spotters involved in this I know quite well, as I mentioned, is my spotter. But I go back to something once again, in that I really, really don't care. Help me out. Help me figure out why I should care.
They do. It depends on every team. They've got different ways of communicating the priorities and information to the spotter, from the spotter to the driver. And if there's a directive that says, hey, take it easy here or whatever, I suppose it's still the driver's choice. Only one person drives the car. But we've all heard the saying, there's my side of the story, there's your side of the story, and the truth is somewhere in the middle. And to be honest with you, I don't give a shit either. Because I don't know. Okay, now we got our jokes out of the way. Because I'm not trying to down talk the spotters or door bumper clear, what they talked about, what they felt was important at that time. So what is the heated debate here that's happening? I guess is like,
did NASCAR ask the 1 car to stop racing the 12 so hard? Basically, is the debate as if this happened
NASCAR,
or
is somebody claiming that NASCAR did?
They're basically claiming that this happened, that NASCAR did. Asked them to calm down, racing the 12, which I guess would be odd, as we put it. Cars racing for the lead, but it's to a spotter who can tell the crew chief, who can talk about, but that doesn't mean it directly goes to the driver, who at the end of the day is driving the car.
Okay, so let me just think about this. Let's just play this out for a second.
Mm-hmm.
The allegation is that NASCAR told the spotter of the 1,
yep,
to calm down, implying to not race the 12 as hard, right? Is that what the allegation is?
That is what I'm gathering from what I've seen.
So you think that NASCAR? Let's just assume that NASCAR did this, right? How did NASCAR want that to be communicated to the driver of the 1 car? Hey Ross, it's your crew chief here. Just want to let you know that NASCAR has asked us for you to race the 12 a little easier. Do you think that that's what NASCAR wanted the 1 team to do?
Absolutely not.
Do you think that in any universe, if NASCAR, do you think that NASCAR would put themselves in a position for the 1 team to call their driver up and say, hey, NASCAR is asking us for you to cool it? Does that make any sense?
No. That's what I find it ridiculous.
So when you see a NASCAR spokesperson saying that an official saw spotters getting heated, yelling at each other during a battle for the lead, and the spotter official de-escalated the confrontation saying, cool it, do you think that makes more sense? Because the one thing I will say that I believe 100%, that 2 spotters that allegedly stand next to each other, right, are elbowing each other or in each other's face saying, hey, race me easier. Because spotters do that all the time. By throw hands, I don't mean fight, but they throw their hands up on the spotter stand, and mouth, it's so loud they don't actually talk to each other, or maybe they pull their headsets, but they're mouthing to each other get out of the way, or what the hell, or give me space. So if these guys are mouthing at each other because they think that they're, enabling their driver to race hard or putting each other at risk, and one's racing for a championship, one's racing for a win, and he doesn't care. I believe that there was maybe a heated confrontation, and it makes sense that a spotter official would have said, "Hey guys, cool it. We don't need to fight on the spotter stand, or calm down, or get back to racing." But if there is if there's like this implication that the spotter was saying to the one spotter that hey, relay a message to your driver from the spotter stand that we would like him to calm down. Like that, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. That did not happen.
Well,
No chance.
hold on. But I thought that the spotters drive the car.
I don't know. I'm with you on that. I like to tease about spotters. I'm not entirely railroading you here, even though maybe it feels like I am. I love to tease on spotters. I should call Freddie Kraft right now so he can listen to this live.
You should definitely put him on your.
But so I'll tease on spotters with the best of them. But I do respect those guys, and I have plenty of debates to be had of the actual use case of a spotter, and that's a totally different conversation.
Totally different.
But the spotters in their current state and the way we use them, they are an asset to these teams, and they do provide a very unique form of communication between the driver and the team and the crew and all that stuff. So I have respect for that, and the drivers are passionate, and they a lot of them are assist their drivers in many different ways. A lot of drivers, spotters do carry a very high degree of self-worth when it comes to their role and how the car gets around the racetrack. And that is fine too, because I've had spotters that I needed that help from. So just ask them. They'll tell you exactly how much help I needed. But anyways, Freddie was one of them. I love Freddie.
And I should mention, I did preface my pseudo rant with the idea that I love my spotter. So I love my
spotter. So here, that's all I needed to say. Now I'm going to shit on him.
No, I didn't shut him. I just think sometimes, you put it, there is occasionally a thought process like when I think of spotters fighting or that sort of thing, I'm like, none of you are driving the vehicle.
Yeah, come on. You know what? I'm going to defend the spotters on that. I need my boys to back me up.
I don't know, man.
They're just as much a part of the race as a driver. You know what? I appreciate having a spotter that's passionate about what's going on. And most of the time those fights do end with, I don't drive the car.
Yeah, that's the point.
No, you literally see that. How many somebody should do a compilation
hold on. I think the same
clips,
thing.
TV clips of crew chiefs and spotters just being like, I don't drive the thing because I think
the same thing. Half the time I think the same thing. If a car runs into you on track, like if a car driven by a driver decides to turn left and ram into you in your right side door and spin you into the wall or whatever.
Yeah,
the last thing I think getting out there is like, where's the crew chief? Give me the crew chief.
Yeah, you're just looking for somebody. But think of it this way: the spotters' intensity in their voice and their aggression of how tight they, even though they don't drive the car, the spotter can control at least their own inflection, how much they're raising and lowering the energy on the radio. Right, and that's all they're implying, that these spotters to each other, all they're implying to each other is like, if Ross is leading and throwing blocks and racing aggressive, putting the 12 car at risk, and the spotter is spotting aggressively too, then there's this. Then that's the grounds for these guys to be like, hey, what are you doing, man? Take it easy, And these guys, and that's where the spotter can defend and be like, I'm trying to win a race. Right, so I'm gonna clear my driver to the inch instead of clear him conservatively, or I'm gonna stay right on top of him and make sure he knows exactly what lane your driver's in, and that's where those guys can get intense and feel some ownership over what's going on, and I don't blame them for that. I'm on board with that. I get it, I also, going to the core of the problem is, my understanding here is that they are trying to say that that there was a message delivered from NASCAR to calm down the one car, and I do not understand any logic around that, and I hope that that's not what's actually being claimed, because that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Okay. Deal. Anyway, moving on from this talk, Ryan Blaney's your champion. And before we move out of NASCAR, I think, that was a lot. One other thing I'd like to say, actually, though, Kyle Larson trying to run down Blaney at the end there, trying everything he could. I thought that was pretty compelling stuff at the end of the race. So, didn't get the championship, but tried everything he could to try and get back to that 12 car. And I thought that was pretty cool. Seeing one of the best there is. Maybe the best one day to ever do it. Trying to make it happen, just couldn't find a way. So I'm going to do something fun, though, because one of the other big discussions on the internet this week has been the validity of the champions. So I'm just going to read you, Landon, some stats. No names, nothing, and you just tell me if that sounds like a championship season or not. Okay?
Oh, gosh. Is this kind of like how you've been trying to keep track of Winston Cup points all year long?
No. I don't keep track of those things. You know that. I'm not in that.
All right, let me have
it. 1 win, 7 top 5s, 14 top 10s.
So I got to guess the driver, or guess the points? No,
you just say if that sounds like a championship season or not.
No.
Okay. And then I'll tell you who the 3 are afterwards. 3 wins.
Is this all in Cup?
No. That probably should have helped you. 3 wins, 8 top 5s, 18 top 10s.
No. But potentially.
Okay. 3 wins, 14 top 5s, 21 top 10s.
There's your champ.
Okay.
Lay it on me now.
The order
Did
of those...
I take the bait?
The order of those... So here's the best part. All 3 of those drivers won a championship this weekend.
Oh, okay.
I think it helps out a little bit, but I thought it was kind of fun. Your first one with 1 win, 7 top 5s, and 14 top 10s. Remember, they only do 23 races. Ben Rhodes. There you go. Your second one, though, this is where it gets a little more compelling because there is closer amount of races. Your second one, though, was Ryan Blaney at 3 wins, 8 top 5s, and 18 top 10s.
Two of his wins.
Yeah.
2 of his wins came in the last 3 weeks.
Basically, yeah. Yeah. Martinsville.
Because he won Talladega early in the season?
No, he won the Coke 600, and then he won Talladega in the playoffs. And then...
so he won 4 races. No, he won 3 races because he finished second in the championship.
Yep. No, he won the championship. Blaney was the second one at 3 wins, 8 top 5s, 18 top 10s. And the last one, which you said sounded like a championship year, was Cole Custer. 3 wins, 14 top 5s, 21 top 10s. Obviously, Xfinity first Cup, not a fair comparison. Won less races in Xfinity, but also totally different competition.
Deeper bench in Cup.
Yeah, way deeper bench. So I think it was just fun to do that because there's a lot of conjecture about formats and that sort of thing. But to me, when you take some of these seasons, you just sort of peel them out into raw numbers. They can feel championship-esque. No different than, championships that were won the old way with small amounts of wins and lots of consistency. So I see, where sometimes people have a problem with, maybe they don't lead stats like best average finish and all that stuff, but it's not how it's designed. So, if you extrapolate them out, they can feel like championship seasons, no matter what, if they were the most deserving or not in some people's eyes.
Is there do you feel like in other sports that have a playoff system that a surprise champion can, comes out of a playoff format where
what happens at March Madness all the time? with like the underdogs, right? A 16 seed goes on to all the way to the championship, right?
Yeah.
Like, what's the difference in that? I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, I don't know other sports really well, but I feel like I struggle to know like if that's a big difference, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And the old argument always, as producer Josh brought up, is Matt Kenseth 2003 championship season, which some people like to say brought on the playoff format, the chase at that time when he won the championship with what, 1 win?
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure that Ryan Newman in one of the first years of the Championship 4 format made it to the Championship 4 without a single win.
He almost won it. He finished second in that race in 2014. That was Kevin Harvick's championship. Yeah, he almost blew up the whole thing right off the bat.
Oh, that would have been something.
Definitely. So anyway, I thought that was a fun thing to do. A really simple, easy way to be like, if you really break these things down, they can often feel like they were there because they're cars that win races and did the right stuff in the format and the system they had.
Exactly.
Last thing, I just saw some people, and producer Josh asked about this, sort of the post-race of a championship race like this where the winner of the race is also not the champion. We obviously got to see this twice over the weekend, once in the trucks with Christian Eckes winning and Ben Rhodes being the champion, and then in Cup with Ryan Blaney winning the championship and Ross Chastain winning the race, and sort of what happens afterwards. We in TV only have so many pit reporters on the ground. There is decisions that have to be made, but there is also, with the championship, some required things that just have to be done with supporting and showing the champion, the biggest prize that is the most valuable prize that the sport has. So, of course, that takes precedence. Of course, the drivers who were so close to that happening, or maybe finish one position behind, are going to take precedence in getting their reaction to not getting the biggest prize the sport has over the entirety of a year. And then, of course, you will interview the winner of the race if they they weren't a part of the championship. Of course, the race then takes precedence of who won that actual race. But on this day, and in any time this happens, this is no different. I think if you go look at broadcasts back in the day of pre-playoff era, if a champion is crowned on a day but wasn't the winner, they are going to take precedence as the story and the moment that this is going to get an interview, right? 100%. So
why not?
It's the biggest prize. So I think for some out there who thought, it was like maybe there's snubs towards a driver or something, it's not happening. Trust me. That's not the story. It's not the story on that day. The story is the champion.
Yep.
That's the way it is. They get their time, and winning races is always a big deal. I don't want to see anyone get out of the car and not be happy to win a race. That is a big deal no matter which of these 3 series you do it in. But, to think that there's some sort of behind the scenes ulterior motive to not show that we're not talking about the winner. It's like, no, it's not.
I don't
how
know
it
why
goes.
we're spending so much time talking about this.
People, because the internet discusses these things, Landon, and I have to refute them.
I know. It's great to celebrate the winner of any race. So, but
there you go.
Championship is what matters. Why would you shortchange yourself? And we're only on the air so much. So we will. Maybe we'll get Ross Chastain on
Money Lap Live.
Money Lap Live, and you guys could listen to him talk about his winning race, and he'll probably tell you how he would have rather finished second and won the championship than win the race and not win the championship. So,
Although I had a crew chief tell me, Chris Gabehart, he said, I'd rather win this race, not the championship, because he had an amazing quote. He said, "You are who you are when people aren't looking." And so basically, he's Denny Hamlin's crew chief. He's a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but his point being that, if you could perform at that level, not in the championship 4 and win this race, that's a pretty big statement. But nonetheless, we'll move on. Yeah, winning the championship would be definitely cooler, though.
I'll take the championship, Chris. That's awfully noble, but I'll take the championship.
It pays a lot more here on the Money Lab.
Would you take Daytona 500 over a championship, though?
Ooh. No, I'd take the championship.
I think I'll take the championship.
Yeah, I'd just like to say I'm a champion. I was the best that year. That's something that means you just win forever now. Ricky Stenhouse will be a Daytona 500 champion, but Ryan Blaney will simply be a champion.
There you go.
The biggest.
And by winning a championship, he will probably get as many more Daytona 500 attempts as he wants for the rest of his life. So
that is true. He can have as many times as he can to get quoted. And he's a great super speedway racer, so he can get one. Let's move into Formula One. They raced this past weekend in Brazil, the Sao Paulo Grand Prix. But the fun thing that I caught my eye this week was as we head towards Vegas, Time magazine wrote an article on Max Verstappen, which I just had to take this quote out for you because I thought it was amazing. Basically, they talk about his domination, how he's the best F1 driver of all time, so on and so forth, or just at least winning, setting all these new records. Not the best of all time. Don't quote me on that. Anyway, setting all sorts of new records. And they get to this analyst who's viewing Liberty Media and F1 as like a stock pick. And he said, as great as Verstappen, says Barton Crockett, senior research analyst for Rosenblatt Securities, who covers Liberty Media, F1's U.S.-based parent company, is right now, he looks like the biggest risk to the business.
Was Michael Schumacher a risk to F1?
That was my immediate response to a fan who was like, because
okay,
that's so funny. This fan was like, well, because no one's ever won like this, blah, blah. And I was like, of course, yes, percentage wise, right now, Max Verstappen is over 80% of the wins, right? This season.
It's insane.
If he doesn't win the next two, though, he could fall to 77%. The highest percentage winning year for Michael Schumacher was 72% in 2004.
What's the highest ever?
The highest ever was 77%, I think, by Ascari.
So Max will probably beat that this year.
Yeah, he'll have it beat. So the thing that stuck out to me, though, I was like, but my response, though, was, I'm sorry, but really when anyone goes over half the races won, I kind of tune out for that point of terms like, what percentage are we talking about here? And so when you're up in these 70 to 80% range, pretty much feels the same to me. So Michael Schumacher did not crater F1 into oblivion. I don't think that's going to happen for Max Verstappen winning all the time. But Mr. Barton Crockett of Rosenblatt Securities and Research and guy who moves things on Excel sheets, we think you'll be just fine, buddy. So the races were pretty good this weekend in terms of some great battles, by the way, in Brazil. You had the sprint race, and then you also had a photo finish for third. Obviously, Max won. Lando Norris was in second. Got that wrong in our picks, but the battle for third between Alonso and Perez was actually pretty epic. Pretty awesome.
Lando is just firing on all cylinders right now. And he is making a case for either McLaren needing to deliver on this, performance that they're giving him, or he's going to get scooped up.
I think that's always the rumor right now, right? What would a Lando Norris versus Max Verstappen in a Red Bull look like?
That would be fun, and I think that I'm making this up as I go, but I'm feeling this right now. I'm feeling this energy. So go with me here. I think that that's the storyline that F1 fans need. Or maybe it's the one we need, or the one we're going to get, or something that they'll get excited about. Is a Red Bull on Red Bull rivalry. Because the manufacturer on manufacturer rivalry, Ferrari versus Red Bull or Mercedes, or somebody stepping up and really being. I mean, obviously that's ideal for motorsports and racing, and we would love to see that. But Red Bull is so far ahead of everybody else right now that the coolest, most unique storyline that we could see is an actual rivalry for the championship within the organization.
Yeah, which happens.
But that would be awesome.
And that was 2016 Mercedes, right? Yeah. We've seen it, when Nico and Lewis were as close. We've also, and you and I have talked about this a ton, but we've seen where teams actually have two drivers that are too close, and it craters it, right?
Right. That was the flip side of this conversation. Is that
it hurts them.
Red Bull is not by design. Is not designed to be that way. So won't get to see it.
None of them are. It's not. But when it happens, when they get. When the second
when
when the B driver rises up, that's when it's really interesting. Nico Rosberg rose up for 1 year. It took everything out of him, so much so he retired. That's just what it took. So I think it would be cool. I don't know how we'd get it. I think a Charles Leclerc would be the same level of putting someone in one of those in a Red Bull that could go up against Max Verstappen, right?
Yeah.
But do they want, or do you sit there? Fernando Alonso was a cautionary tale to anyone like Charles Leclerc or Landon Norris, in that he had an almost unbelievably perfect record of picking the wrong team at the wrong time. So that guy should have a lot more championships.
Feels familiar.
He jumped around a lot too much. Oh, yeah? You had that issue?
It's happened.
We could talk more about track limits, but trust me, I'm tired of track limits. Just know that Haas has protested the USGP 13 days with it before the 14-day limit for protest happened. I don't even want to talk about it. I don't care. But I'm just so glad that these rules have now basically allowed some people in air-conditioned rooms with button-downs on to make more decisions.
Proceedings of the dumbest conversations in motorsports, ruling for the FIA, bring forth the plaintiffs and the defendants, the entire world.
We have evidence that this car went over some white lines when it shouldn't have. 13 days later, please
we'll have
get
time
them
to go over this on Money Lap Live.
Yes, please.
But I don't want to talk about it right now.
No, one of the things we will discuss is the Las Vegas Grand Prix that F1 is happening here in the next 2 weeks, and some news coming out is basically that the ticket prices and hotel rooms are in free fall. Some of the rooms, the average room is down 58%. The tickets have been slashed. I had heard about 2 or 3 weeks ago from someone within the paddock that this was occurring. I didn't fully look into it too much, but now it is becoming public that this is absolutely happening. So, I think it is going to be, this is an experiment, right? This is an experiment of a motorsport series doing something this big.
For 10 years.
That isn't the number one. Yeah, and this isn't the number one motorsport in America. So they are taking massive risk. And this is, this could be some of the blowback. I think, one of the things I really think is that when you look at F1, I even had this Las Vegas GP, I had this discussion with someone. Most people didn't even look, because I bet they saw all the $1 million room packages and $50,000 a night packages. And all this stuff. And I personally sat there and thought, I'm not even going to look. I'm not even going to care. And so, sure enough,
they ran everybody out.
They probably ran out people like you and me who maybe said, hey, that would have been cool. I'll go. If you didn't have all this craziness that just seemed like, no, I'm never going to spend that to go there. So that.
Well, we were looking at going, and I was like, I don't even want to think about a hotel.
Yeah, I know. Now
maybe we should call our contacts back up and get some passes.
All right, we'll try.
When is it?
We'll try.
What's the date?
It's 2 weeks, November 17th. Oh no, it's next weekend. Sorry, it's next weekend.
Let's go.
I'm in. All right, you heard it here. Money Lap Live from Las Vegas GP. We'll make it happen.
Reporting live. Landon and Parker on paddock.
Last couple things to dive into here. Producer Josh says he also better be there if we go. So we'll make it happen.
Definitely not in the budget.
We're gonna go to we're just gonna get
a slash the hotel prices another 50%.
We're just gonna get a hotel room at the Cosmopolitan and set up our mics on the balcony, and that will be our studio that will be our passes. Give you a live viewing.
We need to do a set up our mics right on the street there and just catch all the passerbys.
NASCAR man _RR on Twitter does this great thing where he does auto racing average television viewers for the whole year. And I thought this was fascinating. We brought it up before, but the Cup finale was 15th of all the races this year. Formula One's top race is down in 39th, and that was Miami GP. And of course, Xfinity's highest was their Daytona race, the first one. So Cup then controls basically everything else besides the Indy 500, which is second. So
the highest rated F1 race was not even higher rated than the highest rated Xfinity race.
Correct. Yes. There are people that are far smarter than us that will tell us it's about the demographic and the demo.
Mhm.
But I don't know. That seems like seems like a lot of people between those two spots. Yeah. Also, Chicago was basically the second highest Cup race, which is pretty cool. I thought that was awesome. That's a great example. NASCAR has a draw if it can put it themselves
Another
in the right
one that's
places.
worth noting too is the fifth highest race you would never guess is Fontana. But that just shows how important that early season bump is for our sport. We get a huge bump. Like just the start of the season. That's why it's so important for that start of the season, those first few venues being really good venues, races, that we don't have weather issues. I think that was probably part of the reason why Atlanta had lost interleague gate. But being able to go to the West Coast knowing that there's not going to be a lot of rain in the past, I think that probably played a big role in going straight from Daytona to the West Coast. Being able to have a race scheduled on time and carry that Daytona momentum, that's I've been told countless times from my friends at NASCAR over the years that momentum carries really far for those first 3 or 4 races.
It's a great point, and I'm going to bring up another part of that, which is the Daytona 500 broadcast is possibly one of the most important broadcasts of the year. And not just because it's the largest audience, but it's the most important broadcast in informing a huge amount of people why they should watch all year and feel like they should get in. Yeah, they should be invested in. Think about when you watch like the Kentucky Derby and they do or the Olympics, which comes every 4 years, and you get invested in a story like Michael Phelps because you've been read a ton, or they do an amazing piece on the pre-shows, right? And it makes you want to keep up with it. That Daytona 500 broadcast is everything to the NASCAR world and to motorsports in America, and same with the Indy 500. It makes you want to keep going if they tell enough great stories that make you compelled to watch those drivers and those teams and the cars and whatever, right? I mean, 7 million or 6 million more people watched the Daytona 500 than the last race of the season, the championship. Those 6 million just were there to watch the Daytona 500, and we didn't get them for the last race, right? Like, to me, that shows there's opportunity. So
yep.
There's
Absolutely.
Now you could some people look at it negatively. This has been the same trend forever. To me, it's an opportunity. It says, hey, wait, let's grab those people. They were interested enough for this one. Let's get them for the others. Last bit of motorsport news out there in the Formula One world. Their revenues in the third quarter of this year were up 24% over 2022, which basically came out to I'm sorry, I read this wrong. They rose from 715 million to 887 million, which is just a lot. Yep. So,
how many is that per team? Or is that a good? Are we calculating it that way? Is that
so the teams basically. The 10 F1 teams shared payments of $432 million between them during the quarter, up from $370 million in 2022. They basically get half the sports revenue.
That's a good deal.
If you just broke that up, it's what, $21.6 million per car.
So in F1, the tracks do not get the tracks got to fight for their food.
They pay.
That's how it works.
Yeah, they all pay different sanction fees. Like your Singapore Grand Prix pays a lot higher sanction fee than some of the more
desirable
traditional
venues.
Yeah, exactly. Even though they're desirable, it's just far away, whatever. They're newer. They just pay a higher sanction fee.
So, and that's where like the biggest topic in NASCAR and team owners and all that stuff is that in NASCAR, the tracks get a huge portion of the share. The biggest portion.
I think if you not to be put anyone down here, but the Chicago street course race wasn't at a track.
Yeah.
And it was the second highest rated Cup race of the year.
Oh.
Yeah. Weird.
So maybe the sport could be a little bit more mobile.
I think so.
Except that the sport owns the tracks. So the overlords of the sport, our good friends in NASCAR, who we love dearly, they own the tracks. So kind of hard to negotiate against themselves.
It's hard math.
Yeah.
It's difficult.
Okay.
I think on that note, I just want to remind everyone, the Money Lap live next week, Wednesdays from 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern on our YouTube, on Twitch. We're going to figure out which Twitches it's going to be on, but it's going to be on all of them.
Wait, 12
it's
to
gonna
3,
be
that's 4 hours.
Well, 3, no, it's not 4
1,
hours.
2, 3. Oh, it's 3 hours.
No,
3 hours.
I was like, what are we where are we counting?
Oh, great. I'm glad it's only 3. What are we going to talk about for 3 hours?
We usually do an hour and a half, just us two. We're going to have 3 or 4
Am I
guests.
going to be able to get up and go to the bathroom?
Yes, there will be breaks.
Am I going to be able to eat lunch while I'm doing this?
Absolutely.
Okay.
100%. There'll be lunch provided by yourself. It's BYOL.
Okay. So we're not catering. Money Lab is not catering lunch to me. Okay, got it.
Absolutely not in the budget. Nope, we spent it all on graphics. And you're going to be really impressed by our graphics.
Awesome.
See you all there. Looking forward to it. Check it out. We'll also put out some emails announcing it. So
okay,
we'll look forward to it. That's the pod. Peace. Thanks for listening to the Money Lap. As always, check out themoneylap.com for the best 5 minutes in motorsports, or sometimes just the coolest stuff in motorsports, delivered directly to your inbox 3 times a week. Check us out on YouTube. We're growing fast over there. And of course, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. We're all over the internet. We're spreading the word of how cool motorsports is. Check us out. This is going to make it into the podcast because Landon sucks. This is the second time today we're trying to record. He will not show up. So Josh has decided to fill in here for 3 minutes. And if he doesn't show up in 4 minutes, which would be 7:30 p.m. on the East Coast.
That'll be 30 minutes past our recording time.
30 minutes past our second recording time of the day, in which he missed by an hour and 15 minutes, then showed up and proceeded to leave.
But the best part about it is he did show up. We started recording, and 1 minute into the recording, he said, "Hey, I'm needed," and then disappeared, and then texted us and said he's back in a couple hours.
Yeah. Yep. Couldn't text us, called us.
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry, folks. The Money Lap brought to you by nobody, because Landon Cassill won't show up.
We're about 15 minutes into the Jeopardy music, which I started about 15 minutes after.
Make it end. Make it end. I have texted him that there are really only 2 options left at this point. That he is dead, or that he will be dead at any moment. You leave tomorrow,
and then
right?
I do leave tomorrow. I'm going to Tahoe tomorrow, and so
What time
I
do you
have
leave?
to get this done. It's in the afternoon, so I'm not worried about it.
Oh my god!
Look who's here!
Holy shit.
It is no longer the Waiting for Landon podcast. It is now the Money Lap with Parker and Landon.
This is the third option I didn't really think was possible, is that he's still alive. So somebody please kill him.
Oh, and he's gone!
Oh my god.
Oh.
I don't even care anymore. I don't even fucking care.
Like, I can't. I'm done.
I can't. This is definitely the beginning to just be a compilation of us just shitting on Landon.
This is
hi there.
Hey, welcome.
Hi.
Wow.
So